next session is on software as a service, SaaS, powered HR driving standardization, efficiency, and innovation in long-tail country HR service delivery. Vivek Khanna is going to walk us through some of the issues when it comes to driving transformational change in countries that have a multi-country footprint. Vivek has more than 20 years of experience working with customers worldwide and is Chief Client Partner for Niyamo Enterprise Solutions. Please join me in welcoming Vivek to the stage.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, I guess I'm the last session before the break, so I'll make it within 15 minutes. We're changing the conversation a little. The sessions before this were more focused towards talent acquisition, changing workplace, changing workforce. I'm going to go back to the core of HR outsourcing. I'm going to talk about technology, I'm going to talk about workforce administration, and I'm going to talk about it more in relationship to globally dispersed employees. So you can always have great solutions for a location which has 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 employees, but what do you do? And I'm sure a lot of the HR executives here would face this problem, that even within one geography, you have a number of field employees. How do you create a great HR service delivery model for them? Even becomes more complicated when you have multiple countries involved, multiple languages involved, multiple regulatory infrastructures involved. And in the past, most of the HR outsourcing providers have always kept away. They've always said, oh, we can't make a business case over there. And at Niyamo, we found that as an opportunity, jumped upon it. And I think there are some new factors that are coming into play that are helping us, and I'm going to talk about that. So first, about Niyamo. Oh, where is, I'm sorry. Okay. So we're actually a first-time participant at the HRO Today. Just to introduce Niyamo, we're a 5-year-old company, relatively much younger than a lot of our peers out here. But in the last 5 years, we've acquired about 100 plus clients. About 1,000 of our employees service customers with employees in over 100 plus countries. In the way we are different is all our delivery operations are actually global. So we have 3 centers in India, 1 in Philippines, and all of them run 24/7. That gives us enormous amount of flexibility when it comes to process delivery, technology delivery, and we leverage software as a service, all types of tools, applications that help us deliver to our customers in this different geographies, different domain. As a company, we deliver everything from talent acquisition all the way to outplacement and everything in between. Though my talk today will be more restricted towards things which are more core, like workforce administration and payroll and HR help desk. Even though we're a small company, we're financially extremely profitable. We do a great job, and we're privately owned, and we're zero debt. So let's talk about what are the challenges. We have quite a few customers that have dispersed employee populations. And what differentiates Niyamo from some of the others, all of our applications, all of our solutions were actually client needs that we created solutions for, and now we find that there are other companies that have very similar situations. So long-tail countries, as it's commonly known in the industry, we are talking about a dispersed employee population. And when you go across different countries, you have a situation. Number one, you have employees who have little or no access to technology. For example, we have a customer who have a lot of employees in the field who don't even have access to a computer. So how do you enable them to do HR transactions? Some of them use smartphones. Some of them even have the old phones. So even if they have phones or wireless mobile phones, you have to have a method to communicate with them. A lot of these locations have developed their own little processes for each part of the HR hire to retire cycle. So how do you bring all of this together, especially if you want to gain efficiency? How do you look at each one of them have started, in some places they have, and you might have faced this, you have an individual country and they have their own small little HR system which runs on Excel. And that's a more truer system of record than the main ERP system. And every now or so often, most probably on a payroll cycle, if payroll is driven by the main ERP, they will true it up. And if payroll doesn't drive the main ERP, guess what? The main ERP system never has the true data. I actually met one CFO, they're in about 25, 26 countries, and I always have my favorite question, how many employees do you have? And most of them will answer back and say, I know I have about 25,300 or 25,000 employees. They can't go down because by the time they put all the data together, it's already out of date. So these are some of the challenges that we've addressed for our clients, and that leads to time-consumed reporting. You have issues around regulation, you're out of compliance, and what we've found that the new software as a service platforms from SuccessFactors, Oracle, some of you might use from Workday. Workday is more domestic, but if you look at the global platforms, rolling out some of these platforms are helping companies bring about standardization and help them get more consolidated reporting. Now, while technology is the enabler, it is far more important to have a partner that helps you get there. So we've come up with a more structured methodology on how to even roll out these software as service platforms. And we look at process harmonization. It was being discussed in one of the sessions earlier today. Somebody said, why harmonization and why not standardization? And the good example that was given was that standardization means you create one process and you shove it down everybody's throat. This is our way to work. Whereas harmonization actually is more collaborative. You bring all of these locations, these countries together, and you get everybody's input, take in some part of each side's processes, and then come up with a new process. So everybody owns it. Chances are it's a great change management technique when you look at harmonization rather than standardization. And we found that especially when you're looking at diverse locations, harmonization gets you there. While the platforms are global, one needs to be extremely sensitive, especially when you're looking at different countries, that you need to be prepared to make some small changes. Many a times it is driven by local regulation, local laws. It might be around getting data. It can be around even simple processes like if you have to let employees go. It's much different when you want to let an employee go here in the United States. Think about letting an employee go in Europe, or for that matter, even in certain Asian countries. You have to jump through a lot more hoops, even if it is for performance. So you have to be prepared to allow your processes to be flexible enough and be prepared enough that they can take in a more local execution flavor rather than being driven from a central location. You can centralize the database, get all the efficiencies, but the processes will need to be a little more local. Technology process. Now comes efficient delivery. If you're going to be dealing with global locations, you have to be prepared to create 24-hour work schedules. Now, certain companies have followed what I call as the follow the sun approach. So they have a service center in Asia, a service center in Europe, and then a service center in the United States, and they work in tandem. It has its own benefits. You have some local, and it depends on the size. Those kind of models work. We found it far more beneficial to have 24-hour working from these remote centers, because in any case, the interactions that the employees are having are with somebody sitting in a remote location. Most probably, we find Skype, increasingly with countries like Asia and Europe, employees are far more comfortable using Skype on a voice over IP platform rather than even picking up phone. We find chat, we find email. These are the kind of interactions that the employees are preferring, even over telephone, and that makes it even more cost effective, and you have chances of creating logs, becoming more compliant overall. Most providers tend to talk about contracts and service levels. Don't get me wrong, all our contracts have service levels, and our teams know about them. But there is one service level, I think, which we drive our teams, and we've found that to be far more important than any other service level, and that's the quarterly customer satisfaction survey. You can be performing 100% to your service level, but if the employee of your customers are unhappy at the end of the day, that contract has little value. So we drive our teams to look at their quarterly customer satisfaction survey, because we believe that's far more better metric for us to measure. Are the employees whom we are servicing, are they happy? Are they happy? Are they getting their work done in time? Even if you make a mistake at some point of time, if that has been handled correctly, chances are that at the overall, the engagement would continue to mature. Any questions? Go on. Yes.
How do you integrate with SuccessFactors or these other organizations to capture the data, place the data in systems, and specifically around data privacy in Europe and other locations where it's a little bit more complex?
Right. So, great question. Especially when so I'll take your question in two parts. One question is how do you integrate in data, and the second part is how do you take care of data privacy. Now, fortunately, when you look at a company like SuccessFactors actually addressed that very well. They've actually created a EU data center, which hosts all country-specific data, which relates to EU only in that center. So that doesn't travel to the United States. The rest of the world may be serviced from the United States. So from a data privacy perspective, when you deal with a company like SuccessFactors, you've kind of overcome that obstacle, and they will sign off and commit to that, right? The second part to your question, how do you integrate data? And we've come up with different models. Depending on the size of the population, we are now finding that it's easier and cheaper to just roll out SuccessFactors in that country. In other places, we have leveraged some local platforms which take care of just local HRISs, and we have created Dell Boomi connections and SAP HANA connections directly into SuccessFactors. So while it is a local database, it is in real time connected to SuccessFactors. Did I answer your question? Right. Any other questions? Okay. So one of the challenges that I've always heard when you talk about, now we have to go onto a brand new platform. Software as a service, SuccessFactors. Great, SuccessFactors is on a per employee per month basis. Most subscription-based SaaS models are, but there is a huge implementation cost. Who's going to bear the $1 million implementation cost? I'm going to roll it out to 25 countries. Who's going to pay for that implementation cost? And that's where I think a company like Niyamo, we thought through that, and what we've done is we've come up with this brand new model where there is a zero upfront cost. So if you have a reason, and I'm not talking about a huge 20,000, 30,000 size employee population. We know that remote dispersed employees cannot be large, but even for a decent sized population, we can actually help you create a model where without a capital expense, you could actually pay for the system over a period of 3 to 5 years through our HR services contract. And guess what, in most cases, we would actually help you reduce the HR cost as well. Because what we are now doing is harmonizing, we're leveraging technology and global delivery, bring all of those efficiencies, and guess what, at the end of the day, you get a brand new system. So the message that I want to leave with you is that there are software as services and global delivery are two levers that are available to HR executives. Those that are dealing with diverse employee population, global locations, to now create a new HR service delivery model where you can bring the same level, approximately the same level of services that you would be giving to your base countries. Thank you.